The knock came at exactly 8:12 on a Saturday morning. I opened the front door to find 3 HOA board members wearing matching polo shirts and carrying clipboards. The woman in front smiled like she already owned the place. "We're here for our annual property inspection." I looked at her for a moment and said, "I think you've got the wrong house." Her smile disappeared. "No, Mr. Hayes, we know exactly where we are." She stepped forward. "Now please unlock your gate." I calmly replied, "I'm not unlocking anything." Her face turned bright red. "You don't have a choice." 5 days later, the county sheriff explained to the entire HOA board exactly why they were wrong. "My name is Michael Hayes. I'm 57 years old and own 12 acres outside Cedar Ridge Estates in northern Texas. My property has been in my family since 1984. The subdivision next door didn't exist until nearly 30 years later. When developers built Cedar Ridge Estates, they created an HOA for the homes inside the neighborhood. My ranch was never part of it. Never had been. Never would be. That fact was recorded in every county property record. Apparently, nobody on the HOA board had bothered to read them. I liked living beside the subdivision. Most neighbors were friendly. Kids waved when I drove by. Families occasionally bought fresh eggs and vegetables from my small farm stand. I never had problems with anyone, until a new HOA board was elected. The new president was Karen Brooks. Karen believed every property touching the subdivision should follow HOA rules, whether they belonged to the association or not. It started with letters. The first demanded I repaint my barn. I ignored it. The second ordered me to remove my tractor because it was visible from community streets. I ignored that one too. The third included a fine for refusing previous notices. I laughed. Then I mailed every letter back with one sentence written across the envelope: "Wrong property." I assumed that would end things. Instead, Kara became determined to prove me wrong. Over the next month, HOA representatives drove past my ranch almost daily. They photographed my fence, measured my driveway, even counted my chickens. One afternoon, Karen stopped while I was repairing a gate. "You'll have to replace that fence." "No, I won't. It doesn't match HOA standards." "It doesn't need to." She frowned. "Everyone here follows HOA rules." I smiled. "I don't live there." She drove away without another word. The Saturday inspection was clearly planned. 3 HOA officers arrived carrying cameras, violation forms, and measuring tapes. Karen walked directly to my locked front gate. "We'll begin outside if you refuse entry." "You don't have permission to enter." "We don't need permission." She reached for the gate latch. It didn't move. I'd installed electronic locks years earlier. Karen turned toward one of the board members. "Record this refusal." The man began writing. "Homeowner denied mandatory inspection." I couldn't help laughing. There isn't a mandatory inspection because there isn't a membership. Karen ignored me. She announced they would return with law enforcement. An hour later, a county sheriff's deputy pulled into my driveway. Karen looked pleased. She immediately began explaining how I refused an official HOA inspection. The deputy listened patiently. Then he asked one simple question. "Does Mr. Hayes belong to your HOA?" Karen answered before anyone else could. "His property is next to ours." "That's not what I asked." She hesitated. "I assume he does." The deputy looked at me. I handed him a folder. Inside were my deed, survey, and county plat map. He spent less than 2 minutes reviewing them. Then he closed the folder. "Mr. Hayes isn't part of your HOA." Karen stared at him. "That's impossible." "No, it's documented right here." Karen refused to accept the answer. She insisted the original developer intended every nearby property to join eventually. The deputy shrugged. "Intentions aren't legally binding." She demanded he force me to open the gate anyway. He calmly replied, "I have no authority to help a private organization inspect property it doesn't govern." The board members looked uncomfortable. Neighbors had begun gathering along the road. Everyone was listening. The following week things became even stranger. I returned from town and found a bright orange HOA violation notice attached to my mailbox. It claimed I owed nearly $2,000 in accumulated fines. There was only one problem. Placing anything except official mail inside or attached to a mailbox is a federal issue. My attorney noticed that immediately. He advised me not to touch the notice until photographs were taken. We documented everything. Security camera footage showed Karen personally attaching the notice. The timestamp was crystal clear. The county record again confirmed my property lay completely outside HOA boundaries. Then my attorney sent the HOA a formal demand letter. It requested they immediately stop representing me as a member, remove every fine, destroy every record created under my name, and never enter my property again. Karen responded with another violation notice. That proved to be a costly mistake. My attorney filed suit seeking declaratory relief and damages for repeated trespassing and harassment. During discovery, internal HOA emails painted an unbelievable picture. One board member had warned Karen months earlier. County records show Mr. Hayes isn't included. Karen replied, "He'll cooperate once we pressure him." That single email changed everything. The judge reviewed the recorded subdivision documents. Every legal description ended at my property line. There wasn't a single document placing my ranch inside the HOA. Not one. The judge asked Karen why the board continued issuing violations after learning that fact. She had no good answer. Silence filled the courtroom. The court ruled entirely in my favor. The HOA was ordered to cancel every notice and every fine. They had to reimburse my legal expenses. The court also issued an order preventing future harassment or unauthorized inspections. The judge reminded the board that private associations only possess authority granted by law and recorded agreements, not assumptions. The annual HOA election arrived a month later. Residents had questions, lots of them. Why had thousands of association dollars been spent chasing someone who wasn't even a member? Why were attorneys involved? Why had the board ignored county property records? Karen and 2 other officers lost their positions by overwhelming margins. The new board contacted me personally. They apologized. They admitted the previous leadership had crossed several lines they never should have crossed. We shook hands. That was the end of it. Today, I still wave to my neighbors. Families still stop by my farm stand. Kids still smile when they see the chickens. The only difference is that nobody from the HOA has ever knocked on my gate again. Sometimes the strongest property boundary isn't a fence. It's a recorded deed backed by the law.